Welcome to another AAAE One-on-One. I'm Joel Bacon, and we've hit the road today to travel to Crystal City and L3Harris's Security Experience Center, a really remarkable facility that showcases some of the company's technology that they hope to deploy in airports very soon. To walk us through the company, the technology, and what lies ahead for security screening checkpoints, I'm joined today by Dr. Bill McGann, the Vice President and Chief Technology Officer for Security and Detection Systems for L3Harris. Bill, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to welcome you here. This is our newest Washington, D.C. Experience Center for Aviation Security products. And as you know, we've been on the forefront of developing aviation security products and solutions for the better part of 2 decades, focused on, providing the purpose of safer skies for traveling public. And the intent of this center is to create a collaborative environment so that we can work with our security partners around the world to explore new state-of-the-art technologies that are really aimed at creating a new paradigm in security that keeps it secured, connected, and scalable to meet the demands of future air travel.
Let's dive a little bit deeper into the whole notion of this space, which is really fabulous, and we'll walk through the various pieces of it. But we've got a whole host of new screening technology, computed tomography, and we've got some lanes here. Walk us through why it is you picked this place to set up the equipment and what the company hopes to accomplish and what you want to do by bringing stakeholders in to see what the future may look like.
Yeah, so this is one of the epicenters in the world for where security decision making takes place. Obviously TSA is here, but many regulatory leaders and thought leaders in the security industry are frequently in the area, so this is a perfect location. Going to the technology part, everything we do here, the underpinning of what we do is driven by technology. The difference is we're leveraging our experience and the insights from that 2 decades of providing these products and solutions, using the newest technology to create that new paradigm. So for example, what we're going to show you today is the first instantiation of the modern checkpoint of the future. And what we'd start with is to say, well, we want to make sure we can meet the increasing demand of passenger travel, meet the requirements for the ever-growing series of threats and types of threats that are presented to the world, and do that in such a way that you don't constrain the passenger experience, provide greater throughput and a more convenient experience for the passenger to get from point of origin to destination. So one example is today, when you go to an airport with the standard technologies, you need to divest your bag into a number, anywhere between 2 and 4 bins or trays, and you put them through the system, and then you go through your personal security. The new technology today that we have, because it's a 3-dimensional imaging system, computed tomography, as you said earlier, really allows you to dissect the contents of the bag very precisely with high resolution and determine if there are threats in the bag while there is electronic items, while there are liquids and cosmetics and aerosols in the bag. So the passenger can literally gain an immediate experience benefit by loading one bin, pushing it onto an automated conveyor system, and then continue on their journey to the airside secure area where they'll travel from. Very different paradigm from today, and very excited to show you that.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. We're talking about the future and its application. We've seen some demonstrations of this already in Phoenix, for example. The technology's there. What were the experiences in Phoenix? What were the benefits that you saw gained in terms of that passenger experience? You really focused on marrying the passenger experience with the security improvements. What did you see in Phoenix?
Yeah, so the Phoenix experience at Sky Harbor, we installed a system like you're going to see here in a moment. And the real purpose there was to work with the TSA to evaluate the performance of the core scanning system and to measure throughput as well as detection and alarm rate. Because there's nothing that hurts your throughput more than having the system generate a lot of alarms in the system that need to be resolved by a lot of screeners. So the system was primarily focused in Phoenix at exploring that, providing data and insight to the TSA for their decision making and the alignment with their roadmap for deploying these new technologies. Rest of world, we're doing similar things. So we've got programs in Europe, we've got programs in Asia, have programs in Australia where these similar trials are happening now. And while they're converging in terms of the requirements, there are all subtle configurational differences based on the regions of the world, which flights travel to and from those areas. So the technology is very scalable and is capable of really determining if the contents of your bags are secure.
What I wondered if we could do, Bill, is walk through from the passenger's experience what they would see with this new baggage system and the new computed tomography. I'm walking up to the checkpoint now and I see these bin return trays. Just kind of walk me through what happens once, as a passenger, once I go and I place my bag on the tray. How does the baggage move through the system? How does the passenger experience improve? And also a little bit on the technology and what's happening to that bag as it travels through.
Absolutely. So the first thing you'll notice that's different is when you walk up to the new security lanes is that the typical instantiation of security is people stand in line one at a time. Okay? The new systems will have parallel divestiture points, so up to 4, 6 passengers at a time. So you've immediately eliminated the queuing of the people in line waiting to go in singular fashion. The second big advantage is that every passenger that steps up to divest is they have to take out all of their electronics and put them separately, all of their cosmetics, put them separately, divest of their clothing, their jackets and whatnot, and then ultimately their bags. So you've got multiple bins that need, or producing images that need to be evaluated and analyzed.
And that's per passenger.
And that's per passenger.
Multiple bins.
And then you have to redress on the other side. So you have queuing in the front, queuing at the back, analysis in the middle. The new system provides people to parallel divest, and actually all they're doing in the divestiture is putting their bag in a bin. No removal of any object. So right away, the passenger and their bin travel together, and on the redress side, they recollect at the other side as well together. In the middle, the real power of the technology is that it can identify and detect any threats in real time effectively as the passenger travels, and it can resolve those threats, and what it allows you to do is have very low alarm rates, so you're not generating a lot of secondary screening. Yet it is very robust in its ability of detecting real possible threats. We do that with the imaging quality of our system, but also the software, the artificially intelligent algorithms that assist the screener, the operator, to identify the threat. The system will automatically detect the threat and highlight it to the operator. Then they can virtually, on the image, remove a laptop from the image and see the residual effect. And you'll see some of that in a moment. And so you can effectively, completely divest the bag electronically. Very powerful set of tools for screeners.
Yes, you were good enough to show me on the screen what's happening as that bag travels through, and it's really remarkable to see from the screener's perspective the kind of insight that they have. And you talked again about that automatic piece of it that removes the bag.
Right, so continuing on with this, you can imagine there's huge benefit to the screener. I mean, there's less fatigue. The system is making decisions or recommendations with them, okay? And then once the trays are removed, they automatically come back to the front end of the system where they can be reused without having to put them on carts and have screeners spending lots of time wheeling carts around the people in the line. So it really automates the tray return system, automates the detection, gives great user-assisted tools for the screener, and gives passengers a secure and high throughput experience.
So we really are marrying a better passenger experience with better tools to detect threats of the aviation system.
It becomes more and more part of the future state of aviation security is we have to embed a social layer into the security architecture. That's how we think about it. To make it a frictionless screening experience from a passenger, their person, the articles they carry. We want it to be as frictionless as possible and as secure as possible.
So we've talked about the passenger, we've talked about the TSA and the screener's perspective. Let's talk briefly about the airport perspective and the footprint. We've seen an amazing setup here. As you can see, it requires a fair amount of space. Obviously, real estate at the checkpoint is at a premium at many airports. So talk a little bit about the notion of scalability and what you're able to do with more compressed space constraints.
Sure, very consistent with our vision, right? So what we're showing here today is a fairly robust parallel divest, parallel redress, a fairly long lane as you describe it. It's scalable in terms of for smaller airports where real estate is at a minimum. Sky Harbor was a great example. It's a much smaller lane, but no less effective. You can add a diverter to automatically divert bags or not. You can have a tray return system to automatically return trays or not. And you can scale the length and the purpose of the lane for the airport in question and with the threats that you're trying to detect. So that's the real benefit of the scalable solution that we're implementing here.
So we're talking a lot about the future and the future particularly of screening, baggage. Let's talk a little bit about the future more broadly at the checkpoint and what the company sees in terms of enhanced screening and passenger experience for the passenger as they travel through the experience. Where do you see that going?
Yeah, this is the first step in that journey. So we're really moving toward the checkpoint of the future, which was today focused on getting efficiency and security out of the carry-on bags, but we in parallel have very, very innovative technology programs to modernize and advance the passenger screening element. Where today you go through the body scanner, again, it has a certain level of performance and throughput. As the baggage screening technology enhances the throughput, you don't want to create a bottleneck or a lack of performance in the people scanning part. So that has to be advanced as well from a systems engineering point of view. So we're launching a new generation of body scanners next year that will be part of this checkpoint of the future. And even beyond that, in the secondary screening area, where we use these things known as explosives trace detectors to screen the relatively small number of bags that do alarm, we're already working on programs with the government, Department of Homeland Security and others, to embed the explosive trace detection technology into the X-ray tunnel itself, so it becomes abstracted from the process but ever present. And in fact, you would be able to get a chemical signature on every bag that goes through the system, not just the ones that alarm. So we're really excited about bringing together all of these, I hate to do them a disservice by calling them data recording devices, but that's really what they are, very powerful data recording devices, and combine those data in such a way that you provide very powerful analysis on security. And when you do that, you've created a comfortable paradigm for the screeners, whose responsibility is to make sure the airside security is safe, and the passengers who are not, encumbered kind of by the process.
Yeah, well, it's a really exciting time, and it's a critical point from the airport perspective. From those of us who travel, obviously, you're seeing more traffic. You're seeing obviously increased threat levels across the country. So again, marrying the notion of enhanced screening technology with a better passenger experience is something that I think everybody is eager to get on board with. So really appreciate you taking the time, Bill, to walk us through the Security Experience Center here today, some of the technology that's close and a little bit further out. Yeah. Really appreciate always your time to engage with AAAE and the airport community.
My pleasure as always.
Thank you. And thank you for tuning in to another AAAE One-on-One. I'm Joel Bacon.